Hello and welcome. Some buildings don't close when people leave. They finish what they were doing. Tonight's story is called The Boarding School That Still Takes Roll. It comes from someone who spent years teaching abroad, long enough to understand that silence in some places isn't empty. All names and identifying details have been changed. What you're about to hear isn't about a haunting in the traditional sense. It's about a system that never stopped checking attendance. I taught English in Japan for 3 years, mostly small towns where nothing ever happened, and nights felt too quiet to trust. Near the end of my contract, a coworker asked me to help photograph an abandoned boarding school scheduled for demolition. It had been closed after declining enrollment and a series of incidents nobody wanted to explain clearly. We went on a Sunday afternoon, bright daylight, doors already unlocked by construction crews. Inside, the air smelled like dust and chalk. Shoes were still lined neatly by the entrance, mismatched and sun-bleached, as if students had stepped out briefly and never returned. Classrooms were frozen mid-use, textbooks open, homework half-written. On the blackboard in one room, attendance had been written in white chalk, names listed carefully in rows. Some were circled, some crossed out. At the bottom was written, Genremo Tensi, absent again today. As we moved deeper, the building grew quieter, not emptier but focused, like it was listening. My coworker wandered ahead, and I heard her footsteps fade, then stop. When I called her name, I heard it answered not from her direction, but from a classroom behind me, in her exact voice, calm and polite, as if responding during roll call. I opened the door without thinking. The room was full. Desks occupied, chairs pulled out, bags hanging from hooks, but there were no bodies, only impressions, dents in the seats, faint warmth in the air where someone should have been sitting. At the teacher's desk lay a register book, freshly opened, pages crisp. My name was written inside in careful characters, already marked present. From the hallway came the sound of synchronized movement, chairs scraping back, dozens of them, perfectly timed. I shut the door and ran, not stopping until I was outside, lungs burning, heart racing. My coworker was already there, pale and shaking. She told me she'd heard my voice calling her from a classroom I was never in. The school was demolished 6 months later. Last year, while renewing my passport back home, the clerk paused and frowned at her screen. She asked if I'd ever studied abroad in Japan as a child. When I said no, she tilted the monitor toward me. Under educational history, a single entry had appeared, dated years before I ever arrived. Boarding school attendance, incomplete. Some records aren't meant to be corrected. If you felt yourself counted tonight, if your name sounded like it was being repeated back to you, don't answer, because some places don't need bodies to function anymore. They only need confirmation. And once you're marked present, you don't get to decide when you leave. This is Night Signal. If these stories keep you company at night, you can stay connected by subscribing. And if this one felt familiar, give a like to let us know.